Okay, folks, hope everybody's well out there. Really do. Yeah, got a message early on today from a gentleman called Michael, a visitor to the channel. He commented on a video I put up the other day regarding Sir Jim Ratcliffe from Ineos. But it wasn't so much about Sir Jim. I mentioned in the Sir Jim thing with Ineos, I mentioned Marcus Rashford. And Michael messaged me today, sort of defending Marcus. And I do this pretty regular, folks. Now and again, if I think there's a message in the comment section worth covering, I air it on here for you folks to discuss and let me know what you think. But anyway, Michael messaged me. Nice message, no problem with it at all. I'll read it to you in a moment. I sent him a reply, and then he sent a further reply to myself. And as I say, I'll quickly read you them. I'll put the bins on for it so as I know where I am. Anyway, it was all about Marcus Rashford, as I say, who by common consent had a really poor season. I'll have to get pretty close here, so I do apologise. As I say, this was on the back of the piece I did about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I'd said something, I think, about Marcus, saying he's had a poor year and I'm very unhappy with him. Anyway, Michael said, "Why pick on Rashford, a local lad made good, when there are players at United far worse? Terribly run club. I see another young United players going to court in the new year. Never look after the players." He said, "I was old enough to remember George Best, the finest player ever to put on a United shirt, and look how they took care of him." So he's saying, why pick on Rashford? Because obviously Rashford is a United boy, born and bred, come through the academy, done a great job for us initially. He's saying there's another young lad that's in trouble. Well, I don't know about that, or if I do, I can't think what it is. He said somebody in the new year we're going to see in the media there. And he said United haven't done great with young players. Well, my response was this. I don't know what you think, folks, but this is how I feel about Rashford. I put, because Michael, he has gone from being a world-class pro to a lazy, and then I've put in brackets, seemingly uncaring, close brackets, player who's constantly playing with a scowl on his face, very much like Anthony Martial. And all of this after a huge wage increase. As you say, he is a local boy. For me, he should realise how lucky he is. As a kid, that's myself, dreamt of playing for United. I bet you did too, Michael. So many don't make it. Marcus did, and for me, he should be running through brick walls and spilling blood for our great club. As for Georgie, I too grew up with him. I wanted to be him, and I did. That's who I wanted to be as a kid. I had the boots and everything. I've said it in the past. I wanted to be George Best. I had nowhere near as much talent, which is why I'm doing this. But that's who I wanted to be as a kid. But I've got to say, Michael, for all you say he's the best player we've ever had, no, he isn't. He's the second best player we've ever had, and one of the greatest players the world's ever seen. And that was it from me, and that's how I feel about Marcus. I mean, great player for all. He's been a great player, and when I say world class, he has the makings of a world class player. I mean, he had a breakout season, I would suggest, last year, a wonderful season, and world class players do that year upon year upon year. I would say last year was by far his best season. And I would say this year is by a country mile his worst season. And you can't go from there to all the way down here and be classed as anything like world class or even great. He might not even make the playings for England now. He might not make the playing, and many would say he doesn't deserve to. If he goes there, it's probably only because of his pace and because his manager is loyal to the players that have got him where he is. But he's had a stinker of a year. And for me, as I say, he's playing with a scowl on his face all the time. He never looks happy. He never looks interested. He never puts a shift in. He should be running his blood to water. That's what he should be doing. He's doing none of that. He may not be happy with Ten Hag and whatever, but he should be doing it anyway. Because if Ten Hag's not doing a good job, they'll get rid of him and get another manager. But Rashford, in the meantime, should be doing everything for the cause, everything for his team. Like Michael said, he grew up as a supporter, grew up as a fan, grew up in the academy, gone through the academy, and now playing at Old Trafford week in, week out, and for England. He should be putting a shift in, simple as that. Michael, the greatest player ever to play for United, without a shadow of a doubt, and none of us ever seen him, but I know for a fact was Duncan Edwards. Absolutely, by a country mile, Duncan Edwards. That'll seem a silly thing to say to you when I've never seen him play, but I know that is the case. Go and ask Bobby Charlton. Obviously, you can't. But if you could, he would tell you. He played with Bestie. He played with Duncan. He'd have Duncan on a completely different plane. And that isn't because him and Bestie fell out from time to time. They all fell out from time to time, but he's always said what a wonderful player George was. But he wouldn't put him anywhere near Duncan Edwards.